Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chaotic Entertainment. I'm your host, Dan, and I have some questions for you. Are you tired of your friends in the walls vanishing when you take your medication? Have you ever wanted to speedrun a health and safety compliance manual? Do you wish video games showed newborn babies for the shriveled monsters they truly are? Dead Space, the Remakening Part 1, is a sci-fi survival horror game brought to you by EA Games and Motive Studios. In it, you play as Isaac Clarke, the most unfucking lucky human being you've ever seen in your life. You're sent with the most incompetent crew that money can buy to fix the USG Ishimura, a mining ship. Upon arrival, you discover that a sickness has taken hold of the crew. Space Scientology.
I mean, it's just the most nonsensical nonsense writing, and yet they don't have to pay taxes because it's considered a legitimate religion.
And, just like your parents warned you, it's turned them into flesh-eating tentacle monsters. Now, you're on a quest to find your girlfriend and escape without accidentally donating your body to science. Let's start with the gameplay. If you liked the original version of this game, you're going to like this one too. Dead Space is a third-person survival horror, which means two things. One, everything can kill you, and two, ammo is a privilege, not a right. Enemies can take several shots to put down, especially if you're bad at following directions. See, Dead Space is unique in that every gamer instinct you have works against you. Necromorphs are extremely tough, body shots tingle, and decapitation is a minor inconvenience. That being said, it's much harder to chase somebody when you don't have kneecaps. Having blades for hands seems like a really neat idea until some dude starts stabbing you with them. Delimbing these things is the only way to keep them down permanently, which is handy since you can use their body parts to kill even more of them. Or you can use whatever random objects you find lying around. Fan blades? Danger frisbees. Light posts? Involuntary prostate examiners. And sure, Grandpa's oxygen tank can prolong his miserable existence, but just because his usefulness to society is over, doesn't mean we have to waste precious IEDs. Don't think of it as an act of elder abuse. If his lungs won't expand on their own, that's what the unitologists refer to as a sign. We're just respecting the natural order of things. It's what God intended. Everything handles a lot like the first game, except now you can kill things way easier with the kinesis module, which makes saving ammunition, which you won't have much of, way easier. Of course, with Isaac being an engineer on a mining ship, it would make sense that most of his weapons are tools rather than actual guns. Your pistol, the plasma cutter, is actually a handheld cutter for blasting rocks open. The Ripper is just a mineral saw, and the flamethrower can get the fuck out of my inventory. Each weapon has a secondary fire, and they can be upgraded to make them worth that precious item slot they're taking up. Upgrading your rig also lets you boost your kinesis module and your stasis abilities. It also makes the shiny LEDs on your back look way cooler. The more eye-burning blue light you have, the more of a threat wild predators will take you for. Using your suit's powers to the fullest is the best way to get the most bang for your buck out of your weapons. And the nice thing about Dead Space is whatever weapon you want to use is completely acceptable. This is one of the few games where going all in on the first gun in the game isn't just viable, it's fucking optimal. Almost every choice is valid. It's up to you to decide how you want to send OSHA into rage-induced seizures. Speaking of OSHA, the necromorphs aren't the only thing trying to kill you. The Ishimura is a death trap, and honestly, I'm not entirely convinced it wasn't like this before the outbreak. Do elevator doors need to be strong enough to make people jelly? What purpose do these acid sprinklers serve, and why are they aimed at the doors? Why can I vaporize everyone on a walkway by pressing a button? Domino's makes me confirm my order 26 times before I'm allowed to give them my credit card information. But if I want to bake a person pizza, I just have to bump into the console. The controls in this game are tight, and the horror elements stay fresh for most of the game. You can tell a veteran player from a newbie by watching how they react to certain rooms. If you enter a long hallway and the boomer starts hyperventilating and hugging his knees, it's probably a good time to leave. The game will bombard you with distant screams and whispers as you roam the halls of the Ishimura. The ambience in this game is great at keeping you guessing, especially when it becomes difficult to focus on what's really happening around you. Don't worry, all of the whispers and screams probably aren't real. The scratching inside the wall, however, yeah, that's real. And it's about to be a real problem real quick. I'm not saying every vent is out to get you, I'm just saying I'm not going into that room and you can't make me. Is that 100 credits? So yeah, gameplay? Great. Love it. Fucking love it. How's the story? Well, story isn't exactly the focus of Dead Space, but it's there for anyone who wants it. The game makes sure you know the absolute basics of the plot without blasting it all over your face. If you want all of the deep, gritty details, there are countless logs and recordings you can find to fill in the gaps. The story itself is very solid, just like it was in the original. There are a few distinct changes that caught me by surprise, which I'm not gonna lie, I actually really liked. I'm being vague because I'm trying to avoid spoilers. For now. Those are coming later, don't worry. All you need to know right now is the story is good, and if you don't like it, that's fine, because you can mostly ignore it if you want to. So, let's recap. Gameplay? Great. Story? Good. This remake? It's everything I loved about the first game and more in so many ways. Is it a cash grab to remake an IP after watching a competitor crash and burn? Now, since I've done such an amazing job building this game up and praising it, let's talk about everything Dead Space does wrong. Let's just deal with the elephant in the room. Isaac talking. In the original Dead Space, Isaac was a silent protagonist. He spoke in the sequels, but not in the first game. In the remake, however, he talks. A lot. Like, a whole lot. And so does everyone else. Do you like exposition? Cause you're getting exposition. The NPCs in this game talk endlessly. Unless you're backtracking through areas to find secrets and loot, you're going to be listening to full-length conversations for a good part of this game. The rough part about this is, you know, for the most part, that you're completely safe whenever you hear someone else's voice over your radio. If Hammond or Kendra are video chatting with Isaac, that means your precious holes are safe, and Big Daddy Necromorph isn't waiting for you on the couch. The dialogue can also be a bit hammy or just carry on for too long as well.
Do you have the captain's rig?
Fuck me! Ugh. Transmitting codes now.
It's not enough to make me hate the game, but it might get on your nerves. There's also the issue with backtracking. As you progress through the game, you'll find rigs that give you higher levels of clearance into rooms with loot and upgrades. The problem is, these rooms are very scattered, and some of them have items you need if you want to fully upgrade your weapons. This would be fine, except Isaac runs like he spent the last 8 hours shitting in his spacesuit. Understandable. However, that means slogging back through old levels is a pain in the ass because it's just so tedious. If you think trudging around in the empty halls of the Ishimura to go find a single power node sucks, wait until you have to do it after more enemies have spawned. By this point in the game, the necromorphs probably aren't scary. You know what is scary? The amount of ammo and resources you might have to burn through just to find an item you couldn't give less of a shit about. I went back and cleared every room on the Ishimura, and rarely did it ever feel like it was worth the time it took. I feel like a better alternative would have been to have hidden switches in each level that you can use to unlock these doors. This would keep the challenge of going out of your way to get the door open, but you wouldn't have to try and remember where every locked door on the map was. Or do what I did and spend several minutes scouring your map to find where each of them was. It took so long that I just turned off my recording and set aside an hour to find everything. Then there's my least favorite part of the game. My biggest complaint. The final chapter. If you're avoiding spoilers, skip to the timestamp here. Alright, we good? Sweet. The final chapter in this game sucks. It sucks in the original, and it sucks in the remake. You have to clear several rooms of enemies while slowly escorting the marker to the end of the stage. On normal difficulty, the default way to play this game, it took me over 40 minutes. 40 minutes of rinse and repeat. Fight a wave of enemies, push a button, go to the next room. Fight a wave of enemies, push a button, go to the next room. You do this over and over, and it stops being fun after the second or third time. And that's real unfortunate because you do this about 6 times in total. Peak fucking game design right here, folks. This section could literally be cut in half and it would still be too long. And if you were worried that all of that fighting was building up to something great, you can relax. Because instead of the most epic, horrific boss you've ever seen, you fight this guy.
Hello there.
Dead Space, why? Why do your bosses suck? More importantly, why does your final boss suck? It's not even hard, it's just repetitive. I've never fought a toothy vagina, but I always imagined it would be a bit harder. You're not even rewarded for upgrading your weapons for this fight. You can only burst one of his little glow sacks at a time before he becomes invulnerable for a minute. Unless there's some way to cheese this fight that I don't know about, it drags for absolutely no reason. I'm not a game designer, I don't claim to be the big brain smarty man, but there had to be something they could do to punch this fight up a bit. I wish the final chapter was better than this, it just isn't. It's boring and it's tedious, it's not even hard, it just feels like it's there to pad the game out. With all of that said, do I recommend the remake of Dead Space? Yes, with an asterisk. Look, I had fun. I loved this game growing up, and I love it now. I just wish companies could get their shit together and make things fresh and new without just recycling old material. I'd really rather have some new ideas instead of just playing remake after remake. As far as this remake goes, it's worth the price tag if you want to replay Dead Space or if you want to try it out for the first time. And hey, maybe you disagree. Let me know why you're wrong down in the comment section below so we can all point and laugh at you. No wrong think allowed in my channel. You will be mocked. In any case, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more. A huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon. You really do make us whole. More content on the way, so stay tuned. Thank you all again, and I'll see you all next time.